Alright, so once you turn on your PSP, the first thing you want to do is go over to the settings, and then you want to check to see what firmware your PSP is currently on. So we're going to go to System Settings, we're going to go all the way down to System Information, and we need to figure out what our system software is. So right now this PSP is on version 3.3. And so to do this, to update your firmware to 6.60 Pro B, the custom firmware that allows you to run the emulators, we need to go over to our game folder. So go over to the game folder, and we want to load the memory stick. So obviously you've inserted the memory stick into the PSP, so open up the memory stick. It's going to load a little bit slow because this is running on the old firmware. So what we want to do is go all the way to the bottom of the stick, and we want to find the update to 6.60. So here it is, PSP update version 6.60. So we want to update our PSP to version 6.60. So we're going to go ahead, run it. It will load like a normal game. It'll take a minute to load. Alright, so here it is. So PSP system software version 6.60. So we're going to update this to the appropriate firmware. So all you do is hit start. Just accept the terms by going right. You want to accept. Again, just enter, and it will load. So it's going to load your firmware. Alright, so the update is complete. You just want to press X to reset it, so we'll go ahead and do that. Alright, so now we just want to go back to our settings, and we want to double check to make sure it did in fact update. So system settings again, go all the way back down to system information, and now you can see it is on version 6.60. Alright, so now you're updated to the appropriate firmware. So now we need to install the custom firmware. So that's the stock firmware, but now we have to install the custom firmware that will allow your PSP to do the mods, running emulators, homebrews, whatnot. So we go back to the memory stick. Alright, you already see that it loads games much faster because it's the most current firmware for PSP. Well, there's 6.61 that, you know, it's not the best firmware, so we downgrade to 6.60. Alright, so we go back, and now we go to the Pro update. So we want to run this again, just hit X. The PSP will reboot like it's running a game. Alright. So now all you have to do is press X. And by pressing X, it will run the software. Alright, and now it completed. Press X one more time, it will reset the PSP. So now you have a PSP that is on a custom firmware. So one more time, we're going to go back into settings, and we're going to double check to make sure it updated. And now it says the 6.60 Pro B. So we're going to go system settings. We're going to go down to system information, and there you go, 6.60 Pro-B10. Alright, so now you are on the appropriate firmware, and now your PSP is ready to go. Alright, so after you install the custom firmware, every time you turn your PSP completely off, not into sleep mode, but completely off, you need to run something called fast recovery. This doesn't apply if you're just putting your PSP into sleep mode. So first we're going to turn the PSP on. Alright, so then we go back to our game in our memory stick, and you go all the way to the bottom of the emulator, to the memory card, and you will see the icon for Pro Fast Recovery, Pro B Fast Recovery. So you just hit X, and it just takes a couple of seconds. What it will do is it will refresh the mod, and it will make it so you can play the emulators and the ROMs. See, it's extremely quick. If you don't do this, you will get a copyright error when you try to run a backup or a ROM, or an invalid file error. So just make sure you run this fast recovery every time you boot up. So we're just going to run through a list of what's pre-installed on this memory stick. So when you receive the memory stick, you're going to receive a bunch of the emulators. So we're going to pre-install a ton of emulators for you. So let's get down to the list. Right here's a couple of homebrews. These are just some app-based games. Lamecraft, it's kind of like a Minecraft. Stickman Jump, it's a fun game. We even have a custom Pokemon homebrew game. Nazi Zombies from Call of Duty. All right, so let's get into the emulator list. So we have right here, Commodore 64. We have the PC Engine, which is TurboGrafx. MAME, very popular arcade. Handy PSP. The Handy PSP. We have Neo Geo, N64. We install N64 on here just because it's people love N64, but just be aware that the N64 games do not run very well. We put it on there so people can have it, but the games aren't going to be strong. They're going to lag. All right, continuing down the list, we have Intellivision. We have Atari 7800, ColecoVision. Backtracks, we have Atari 5200, you have the Atari 2600, you have the Neo Geo Pocket, Doom, this is a very popular one, it's Doom 1 and 2, Gameboy Advance, Sega Genesis, Nestor J, there's no cover art, but Nestor J is the original Nintendo, Master Boy, it's Game Boy Color, Sega Master System, and GameGear, and finally we have the Super Nintendo. So right now we're going to do some gameplay videos so I can show you how well the PSP can run these emulators, ROMs, backups, etc. So let's get into, let's do some God of War, I guess. God of War is a good game. It's high graphic output. I think it's one of the best graphics games for the PSP. And like I said, these backups, there's no UMD in there. You can see there's no UMD. It's running solely on the memory stick. So this is a new memory stick. I don't have any save games, so bear with me while I start a new file. Alright, here we go. We're going to get into some gameplay. as you can see, it runs perfectly. There is no lag. I apologize for how bad I'm playing, because it is extremely hard to play with your index fingers and not your thumb. And every single PSP game you play is going to function exactly like this. The PSP games have zero lag. They are absolutely perfect. So I think you get the point on that. Let's check out some PS1 games. So to quit, just like there was a UMD installed, you just hit the home button and then quit back to the main menu. Alright, so now we're going to do some gameplay on PS1 games. So the PSP games will show, just like the UMD was installed. It will give you the little background movie, I guess you could say, background graphic. But with the PS1 games, what they do is they show the cover art, which is also very nice. I mean, that shows the authentic cover art. So, let's pick a game. I'm going to have to go with Crash Bandicoot 2. That's Crash Bandicoot 1. Crash Bandicoot 2. Cortex Strikes Back, one of my all-time favorite games, hands down. The best part about this is the system boots like a normal PlayStation. You even get the original startup. It's very nostalgic. I mean, you gotta love that. I get chills just looking at that. So the screen automatically, well, the first time you play the game, the screen automatically defaults. So to go to settings, just hit the home button for the PS1 settings and go to other settings. So actually, I've already been in this game. So it automatically defaults to original, which is smaller. So watch, I'll show you in 1 second that the original screen size. So it automatically defaults to original. So you go into home, other settings, and you always want to make your PS1 games full screen. It looks the best. And again, these PS1 games, all PS1 games run perfectly on the PSP. It's hands down the best PS1 emulator. I mean, current Android devices and even modern computers, they can run PS1 games, but there is definitely lag and they don't look as good. I mean, these games look perfect. Again, I'm going to show you some gameplay playing with my index fingers. Apologize that my hands are so dirty. I just got out of work. No one cares. Neocortex. So again, zero lag, just like the original. I don't have any save files because this is a new memory stick, so I'm just testing out to show you guys how it functions. So yeah, perfect. With this one, you use the D-pad versus the little thumbstick thingy like the PS1 games. I'm sorry, PSP games, but that is much better because the original PS1 controller had the almost identical D-pad. The PSP D-pad is absolutely amazing. The whole controller setup on the PSP is perfect. I mean, other than the thumbstick, which isn't that good, but for what you're getting this console for emulators and just retro gaming, the controls on the PSP are one of the best out. Alright, so again, I think you get the point of that. Now, alright, so yeah, with this home button, and then you just go to quick game, just like the PSP games. So now we're going to check out some of the cooler features. Well, not cooler, I mean PS1 games and PSP backups are pretty freaking cool. But, so another major feature is, obviously what I showed you earlier, is all the emulators. So I just installed this one last by accident, but that's why I chose up first. So here you go. Super Nintendo, runs perfectly. That's one of the best emulators on here. And like I said earlier, we went through the whole list of what is pre-installed on the SD card. So, you know, the majority of the people that buy this, other than some of these main retro gaming, is for the Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, original Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Game Boy Color. So all of those that I just stated, they run perfectly. So let's first start off with the Game Boy Advance, and I'm gonna have to go with Pokemon. I'm not sure which Pokemon. Maybe I'm not sure. We'll see. But we're gonna go with Pokemon, and again, you'll see that it runs perfectly. Having custom PSP does defeat the point of having a Game Boy. So if you buy this and you have a Game Boy, you might as well sell it on eBay or something and get some extra cash, because this displays it better, the lighting is better, it handles better as far as the controls go. So here we go. Here's the menu of when you click on the Game Boy Advance emulator of what it will look like once you pre-install games. Again, I have to stress that these games will not come installed on the memory card. We support ROMs, of course. We provide any support that you need for, we support emulators. We provide any support, any questions you have with emulators, but unfortunately we cannot give ROMs, because legally speaking, you need to own the game to make a backup, aka a ROM, and load it onto the SD card, right? That is the quote-unquote legal way. So without owning the game, we cannot give you the ROM file. But Google it. I mean, you can figure it out. I'd hope you can figure it out. So again, getting back into this is a Game Boy Advance emulator, and these are all the games that I have pre-installed on here. I mean, I think I have 100 plus games on here, and you can fit a ton more. This is just some of our favorites. So like I said, let's play some Pokemon. Pokemon Fire Red. I was a Pokemon Yellow kid when I was younger, 90s baby. But we're going to start with Fire Red. So you just click it, it loads the ROM, it takes 2 seconds to boot. And again, just like the PlayStation 1, just like the PSP, it's the exact same game. Boots the same, zero lag, works just like the original game. All the main buttons work. Oh, I didn't mean to hit fast forward. Yeah, so with the emulators, there are sometimes certain features that you can do that you can't do on the original console, such as a save state button, which basically you can save at any point of the game, even when there's not a save option. With the emulators, they have a save state option, which you can save. I could save it right here if I wanted to, but there'd be no point of that. And you can also fast forward. You can do many things with emulators that you can't do in the original. So again, I don't have a save file. It's a new memory stick, so I'm just gonna have to bear with me while I get into some gameplay. So I don't have to wait for this. I am going to fast forward it to go even faster. I know it's hard to tell, but the font is going a little bit faster. Ash. You can hear the music is actually sped up because it's in fast forward mode. So yeah, the fast forward button. Fast forward button. Alright, okay. Right, so your name is Ash. Gotta catch them all. I don't know why with the grandson I always name him Gary. I don't know why. Ever since I've been a kid, I just feel like Gary is an asshole name. Whenever I see Gary, it just pisses me off. Alright, so we're getting into some gameplay planning. So here we go. Like I said, perfect. I mean, it's hard to tell with the camera that I'm using to record this, but it looks 10 times, especially if you're playing on the original Game Boy Advance, this looks 1,000 times better than the original Game Boy Advance. I mean, I don't understand how everyone doesn't have these. Again, it's perfect. So let's move on to the next one. So that's Game Boy Advance. You get the point. So with this one, instead of just popping up to like a generic PSP screen, you actually when you hit the home button to quit, you go to the emulator screen. And it's the same concept. It gives you all the options, and by this, you can just go to the emulator screen and just exit out. and it will bring you back to the PlayStation home screen. Alright, so let's check out some Super Nintendo, everyone's second favorite system. Well, I don't know. You could say it's the first favorite system other than the Game Boy Advance for emulators that are included. I personally like the Game Boy Advance because I am a huge Pokemon fanboy, which is pretty pathetic. Alright, so again, just like the Game Boy Advance emulator, we have preloaded ROMs on here. So it will give you a list of all the ROMs. So I guess with this system, the best thing we can do is play some Mario. I guess we'll just do the original Mario. It's easy to load into. And there you go. Just like you're playing on a Super Nintendo. Loads up exactly the same. Plays exactly the same. Everything works. So yeah, this is a good game to demo because it hops right into the game. Alright. So which level should I choose? It doesn't matter. Alright, here we go. Again. Perfect. Jesus Christ, I can't play with my index fingers. I promise I'm better at video games than this. It's just extremely hard to play. Wow, I missed that. So yeah, you see with this, there is zero lag. It runs just like it should. And I am demoing this on a PSP 1000. So that's the first gen PSP. So the PSP 1000 has 32 megabytes of RAM. I know that sounds like absolutely nothing. It is very small. What I was getting at though, the PSP 2000 and the PSP 3000 actually have 64 megabytes of RAM. So although it makes very little difference, there are certain games, especially with the Super Nintendo side, there are some games that you can see a very small improvement because of the additional RAM. And please note, a lot of people buy this and then message me saying, hey, this doesn't work on my PSP Vita. Okay, first of all, it's not a PSP Vita. It's a PS Vita, and it's not a PSP. So if you own a PSP, it does not work on... I'm sorry, if you own a PS Vita, it does not work. The memory card slot is different, and that also goes for the PSP Go. The PSP Go has a completely different memory slot than the PSP, which is very unfortunate. Sony went a different way with their media sticks. They always change their stuff. So if you have a PSP Go, this memory stick will not work. We will be bringing a PSP Go memory stick as long as a Vita in the future. If there is demand for it, let me know in this video if you think that we should bring it, and we will put that together. But for now, the PSP 1000, 2000, and 3000 are the most common PSPs out there, so that is why we offer support for it. Alright, so we just did the Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance. I mean, those are our top emulators, so those are really what we like to go over. But I mean, like I said, we went over the list earlier of everything that runs. I guess we could get into some homebrews. Homebrews aren't PS1 games, PSP games, emulators. They're just basically copies of games that were designed for either the computer, a game console, or a cell phone. So this one is another fan favorite. It's Doom. It is... I gotta look at the screen and not the camera. Alright, here we go. So, it's Doom. I know it's an old game. Doesn't matter. It's an amazing game. And, like, for the thousandth... Oh, okay, so this one uses a thumbstick. So for the thousandth time, I can't speak, it works perfectly. Oh, you gotta hit the start button. So with this one, you use a thumbstick, which is pretty cool. And I want to say it runs better than some PCs can handle it, although it came out 20 years ago. But as you can see, the Doom, this is one of my favorite games. It runs, I need to look at the screen, not the camera. It runs great. I wish I could do better by not playing with my freaking index fingers. This is not doing it justice. I'm going to stop trying to play and just show you the frame rate. So yeah, there you go. It works fine. So that is Doom Homebrew. So let's get out of it. Oh, thumbstick. Alright, so I quit that. And yeah, so there you go, guys. That is the PSP memory stick, 32 gigabytes. Alright, so now we're going to go over how to install the PlayStation 1 PSP and the retro system games right onto your PSP. Alright, so first you need to take the PSP. Obviously you have to have the SD card inserted into the PSP and use the USB cable that we included. Plug the USB cable directly into the PSP and then obviously plug that into your computer. Once it's plugged into your computer, it should show up as a removable disk. And yes, I'm sure you guys noticed I am using Windows XP. This is an older system. I use it for all of my emulators and ROMs. It works perfect for it. So again, plug it in. It will show up as a removable disk, and once you open up the PSP, this is what it will look like. This is your PSP directory. These are the files that are going to come on, or I'm sorry, these are the folders that should be on your PSP memory stick. So with the PSP backups, the PSP games, they are the only games on this PlayStation Portable that will be going into the ISO folder. All other games in the ROMs will be going into the PSP folder. So if I want to load a PSP game onto my PSP, all I do is open up the ISO folder. You'll see I already have some installed, some of my favorite games. So I already have a couple of PSP games loaded onto my computer. I open them up. All you have to do is drag them and drop them right onto this ISO folder. So with the PSP ISOs, you'll notice a couple things, or you should notice a couple things. The ISO file cannot be in a folder. So if I did, for example, this game, and I made a folder and put it inside the folder, if I loaded this onto the PSP, it wouldn't be able to read it. When you pulled it up on the PSP, it would say corrupt file. So you need to make sure that the ISO file is just the file, not in any type of folder. And the second thing that you need to take note of is the name of the file cannot be very long. I'm not sure the minimum requirement. I think it's like 30 characters or something like that. If it's over those characters, for some reason the PSP will not be able to read it. So I recommend you abbreviate as much as you can. So for example, with the Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars, I wrote CTW. If I was to actually, make a long file name, if I put that on the PSP, it would not be able to read it. So keep it short and simple. It's pretty simple. Keep it short and simple. It's pretty simple, yeah. You'll have no problems as long as it's short and it's not in a folder. So take the files from the computer, drag them and drop them right onto the ISO folder, right onto the PSP. Alright, so we loaded the PSP games right onto the PSP, so it's that simple. It's very easy to load PSP ISOs, aka PSP backups, onto the PSP. Alright, so that's that. Again, that is the ISO folder is the only folder you're going to be using for PSP games. PSP games only go into the ISO folder. So again, pull up the PSP memory stick or the PSP. So this time we're going to do PS1 games. So with PS1 games and the ROMs for all of the emulators, they go directly into the PSP folder. So you click PSP, and then you click the game folder. So as you can see, I already have a ton of stuff loaded onto this PSP. All of my emulators and some of my favorite PSP games. Some of my favorite PS1 games and some of the homebrews. So to load a PS1 game, obviously have the game already on your computer, ready to go. And so with PS1 games, unlike the PSP, the games have to be in a folder. So when you get the ROM or the PlayStation 1 backup file, whatever you want to call it from the internet, it's most likely going to come in two separate files. So the game itself, which is called eBoot, and the cover art. So when you get them, when you download them, that's what they're going to look like. So what you need to do is create a folder, again, short. You don't want it to be too long or the PSP won't be able to read it. So create a folder, name it the name of the game, and drag the two files directly into the folder. So it looks like this. So make sure to reference this format, how we do it, exactly to how you're going to load your games. So cover art and the PS1 file. Sorry, I keep saying PSP. It's PSP, PS1, PSP, PS1. So the PS1 game. So it looks just like that. You don't need the cover art, but having the cover art makes it a lot easier to identify the game once it's actually on the PSP. So again, that's Crash Bandicoot. Here's Spyro, cover art, eBoot file, in a folder, and name it short. You don't want it to be super long. If I did like Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, which is the actual name of the game, there's no way the PSP would be able to read it. So once you're in the game folder on the PSP, all you have to do is take the files and drag it and drop it right onto the PSP. Alright, so there you go. The PS1 games are now on the PSP. And like I said, you can see I've already loaded a bunch. We got some Resident Evil, Gex, and you'll see all of them have the eBoot file and the cover art. So make sure when you're loading your games, you use this format. If you load the game and the cover art directly onto the PSP and not put them in a folder, it will not work. It will say corrupt file. Alright, so now we are going to do some of the retro consoles. And as stated before, we use, for example, in this demo, Gameboy Advance and Super Nintendo, because those are the most popular emulators that people buy this system for. So, like I said before, PSP folder, game folder, and find the emulator that's pre-installed on this SD stick. So we're going to do Game Boy Advance. Here's the Game Boy Advance folder. And so with these retro emulators, every single emulator will have a folder within it that says ROM. So this is where you put, obviously, your ROM files that you have on your computer onto the PSP. So you just find the name of the emulator that you want to load the games for. So here we go. At Game Boy Advance, you click the folder and then you have the ROM folder. So just like before, we have a ton of our favorite games already loaded onto this emulator. So I want to go ahead and go to my computer and load two games that I had not yet added to my SD card. So there you go. I have the two games now: Metroid Zero Mission and Pokemon Leaf Green. And so yeah, it's that simple with the Game Boy Advance, and it's the same process through every single emulator on this PSP. So next we're gonna do the Super Nintendo. So find the Super Nintendo on the SD card, pull it up, Again, find the ROM folder. Here it is, ROM folder, and drag and drop your ROMs from your computer directly on to the PSP. There you go. So just like that, I added 2 games for the PSP, 2 games for the Game Boy Advance, and 2 games for the Super Nintendo. And so just to show you guys, so we'll pull up some of the other emulators that we're not going to load ROMs onto right now, just to show you. You know, you open up the game, open up the emulator, find the ROM folder, drag a ROM into it. Another one, ROM folder, drag the game into it. What else do we have? Genesis. Find the ROM folder, load the game into it. What else do we have? TurboGrafx. Neo Geo Pocket games. Load the, sometimes the ROM folder is called games, so load the ROMs right into the game folder. Again, ROMs, load the game into the ROM folder. It's very repetitive, it's very simple. Easy way to load games. You can load thousands and thousands of games of the retro systems because the files are so small. Alright? And so last but not least, we are going to show you how to load homebrews. This is just like loading a PS1 game. Homebrews, I'm assuming you know what they are. If you know what emulators are, they are just games that have either been ported over to the PSP from other consoles, older PC games, some indie games. Indie developers make their own games, and they call them homebrews. So I have the homebrew on my computer. Go to the PSP. So again, PSP, game folder. And for this homebrew, we're going to be using Doom. So if you look at the Doom, it's like the PS1. It's in a folder, and it's got the eBoot file, just like the PS1. It has an eBoot file, and with the homebrews, it usually comes with additional stuff for like graphics and menus and whatnot. But it's the same concept. You take the folder. You don't want to load the eBoot file onto the PSP directly because it will say corrupt data, just like the PlayStation 1 games. The only games that you load the file directly onto the memory stick is for the PSP ISOs. But other than that, everything else needs to be done like this. So take the folder, and with homebrews, you just load it right onto the game folder on the PSP. It doesn't have to be in a ROM folder like the emulators. So just take the file, load it right onto the game folder, and there you go. It's that easy. All right. Hope this helped you out. If you have any questions, please message us through eBay or our website, or leave a comment below, and we will do our best to help you out. And there's going to be a lot more videos like this, how-tos, so please subscribe, leave a thumbs up if you liked it, and yeah, stay tuned for more.